Well, you know, it's really interesting, and it's so hard for people to believe this, but the woman that you see in front of you today is worlds apart from who I was. Limits.
Tell us about that, because there's no way I'd be thinking that you didn't have confidence as a young girl.
You know, I'd get thrown into walls for breathing, and you just were always walking on eggshells. And, like, I don't even remember being hugged as a child. Like, I have no memory of that whatsoever. And then when I was 16, I got kicked out of home, and I was literally living on the streets. I was sleeping under a bridge.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Service Titan and Rilla, our technology of choice to helping us scale and grow our business and making sure all of our viewers have the technology to scale their business so when they want to sell it, they're able to. Welcome to the Roofing CEO Playbook podcast. Build it to sell it. We're here to cut through the noise, all the rhetoric, to show you how to build your roofing business, make it profitable, where you make a boat ton of money, and the cherry on top, when you're ready to sell, you can sell to a private equity firm and change your family's life. I'm excited here today. I got a special guest. I'm going to mispronounce her name, but she flew 30 hours from Australia to be on the podcast, which is so heartfelt to me because I met you where you introduced me on stage, and you're just such a great soul. When I met you, there was an instant connection. Like, you're just an awesome person. You have great energy. You're a hell of an MC. And then I started doing research on you, and I was like, she won Coach of the Year. You have this huge coaching group. You struggled, single mom. Like, there's a lot to you, and I was like, Kairos, you got to get her on this podcast because you have such an incredible story. And I know it doesn't relate totally to roofing, but you coach a lot of different groups and you've been around home services. So, like, you understand it. But I'm honored that you're here. And I don't want to mispronounce your name because you're going to do it. Shani Taylor? Is that it? Shani?
Totally ruined it.
Oh my God, Jesus. All right, I try. Good. Tell everybody how you pronounce it. And this is why I hate this part of every podcast I do, people. And I'm not going to edit this because you don't edit. So, like, we're here.
We're so close, Lance.
And this
so
is why
close.
I don't introduce anyone on stage like you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's Shani.
Shani.
Yeah,
I
so
apologize.
there's no R in the spelling, which is why it's confusing. But by the way, I'll answer to anything. And I have a lot of American clients, and they will pronounce it Shani. So
I did better than them.
You did. You just do you, boo. It'll be fine.
All right. I did better than them. So we met at JT Fox Mega Success. And I was like, I told my wife, I was like, you should see this woman. She is energetic. She knows it. You controlled the crowd. You fired everyone up. How the hell did you get into this? I'm just curious because, like, my wife, I think, is the most beautiful woman in the world, but my wife is not getting on stage doing what you do.
Your wife is beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
And, I mean, obviously I've been following you since we met, and one of the things that I love about what I see in your content is your kids and your wife. So she is beautiful. You know what's really interesting? I've never, not once, done any training on being a speaker.
Really?
At all.
You're dead serious?
Dead serious. No formal training whatsoever.
Now I really feel like shit because I have. Jesus, Lord.
Yeah.
So you never did any form. So you just feel natural. You're like my friend Matt Friedman. He's just natural. You just love it being up there. You feel great. You feel...
Well, you know what's really interesting, and it's so hard for people to believe this, but the woman that you see in front of you today is worlds apart from who I was. Limits.
Tell us about that, because there's no way I'd be thinking that you didn't have confidence as a young girl.
Yeah, and actually, I should have brought my phone over and
shown you. Go get her phone. Go grab her phone.
It's in the bag next to the Louis Vuitton.
Bag.
I need to show you some photos.
Let's see the photos
of what I used to look like. So I don't even have these tattoos anymore, but this version of me was heavily into alcohol, no business.
Holy, that's you? Can I put this up here?
Of course you can.
Sure, Jesus, Lord, Jesus, Lord. My God, people.
And that's that. I mean,
no, I'm not.
No, no, it's okay. It's okay.
I think I'm sitting with a different person.
Exactly. So
tell everybody the backstory, because when people find out how successful you are, it's going to be, that's mind blowing. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually was very scared to speak up. So I was born into super low socioeconomic. And by the way, I think so I wasn't at Mega Success for you and I ran into each other at the airport actually.
Correct, yes.
Because I had to then leave and go to South Africa to go and speak on stage somewhere else. So I didn't even get to stay at Mega Success, and it was so serendipitous that you happened to be there on the day that I got to be there, because then I'm listening to your story and it brings me to tears even just thinking about it. It's just like, wow, like just cannot believe all that you've done, right, from where you've come from. But it really struck me because I was born into Sydney's suburb that's the equivalent of Compton.
Okay.
To this day, it still has the highest rate of homicide out of all of the suburbs in Sydney.
Okay.
Just to give you a gauge on the type of person.
Well, as soon as you say Compton, we all know.
Right, which is why I use Compton as the example. Yeah. A lot of crime, glass thrown through windows, low employment, the lot. So that's where I was born, and we were. I didn't know my father growing up, so he had a whole other family. My mother was his girlfriend, and I've actually got a sister born like a week after me, right to his wife at the time.
Your daddy was a Rolling Stone.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And the story goes that when my mum said she was pregnant, he actually told her to get an abortion or he was going to blow her kneecaps out. And that's the Sicilian blood.
Jesus Christ.
Right. Obviously she didn't, so you're welcome. Aren't you guys lucky? But then, so I grew up in a household with her and, I try to be respectful here, but, I think she had her own problems from her own childhood, and I think she probably had undiagnosed PTSD, and it was very volatile. And physically, I'd get thrown into walls for breathing. And you just were always walking on eggshells. And I don't even remember being hugged as a child. I have no memory of that whatsoever. And then when I was 16, I got kicked out of home and I was literally living on the streets. I was sleeping under a bridge. And that led to me becoming an intravenous drug addict. So I used to put needles in my arm. And then, pardon me.
Take your time. This is just amazing. I would never have thought this.
I know. I think I was also a really easy target for bullying at school as well because I had bright red hair. Do you want to see that photo, Lance?
Yes, I do. Jesus, Lord. Just keeps getting better.
Right. I had bright red hair.
I got to ask how old are you if you don't mind me asking?
How old am I?
Yeah.
41 in 2 months.
Tell you this way, you're living a better life in your 40s than you were. Oh, my God. I didn't mean that reaction.
I should have bought the family album.
Oh, my God. It's scheduled Portraits of the Year. I mean, it really is. Jesus, Lord. My God, look at this right here. It's like Annie from Australia. See that?
So I was a super easy target
Asia's
for
done
bullying.
you well.
I look amazing compared to what I used to look. But so I left school. I didn't even finish school. I left in year 9 because I was kicked out of home on the streets. Super low confidence because while I was being bullied at home, I was being bullied at school. So I was super scared to speak up because every time I did, it came with physical ramifications.
Yeah.
And then obviously living on the street, I mean, that's hell in itself. It's just so unsafe. And so you're learning to stay under the radar so that you're not a target for violence. So that went on. For me, I always knew I wanted to have a family, and I think it's because I felt like I didn't belong in the family that I had. So I just remember from a really young age always wanting to have children, and I actually thought that I would have 5. That was the plan, right? I did not have 5.
You have 1 though, correct?
I have 1.
Yeah.
So I always knew I wanted to have a family because I wanted to create somewhere that I belonged. And I ended up having my son, he's born 4 days after my 23rd birthday. And he's absolutely been the catalyst for becoming a better human. Because as soon as I decided to have him, that was the start of really cleaning my life up. When I decided I would have Oscar, my son.
I like that name. It's a cool name.
It's such a great name,
Yeah,
isn't it?
name.
Because it's a really cute baby's name, but it's a strong
man's name.
Strong man's name.
I like name.
Yeah. So he's definitely been the catalyst for cleaning my life up. So I had him. About 11 weeks later, became a single parent. So me and his father separated.
Were you still homeless, or you kind of figuring it out at this point?
No, had a home. Interestingly, actually, I've got to bring up, I spoke to Kai about this. So when I was 17, even though I was taking drugs, I was driving dump trucks at a gold mine.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
so
you should have took some of that gold, but I mean, talk about that. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
But I share that with you because, in terms of labour hire and the home services industry, like I was actually part of that world for a very long time.
So now you have your son. You start getting built back on your feet. I got to ask, because you win Coaching Woman of the Year, which is very hard to do. I know what the award is. I know it's not easy. I know your coaching group. I know you work with all different types of entrepreneurs, home services, all type of people, right?
Yeah.
Most coaching groups, and I'm not saying this really, I know who you are. I know what you've done for people. I've gotten to know you. So I asked you to be on here, right? But most coaching groups are dog shit.
Yes.
Like they are. Like I hate to say that. Like it's people that have never done anything.
Yes.
But you own businesses. You own businesses that you never took debt out, and you still scaled and made money. Can you talk about your coaching group and kind of what your techniques are? I know you're with JT and you have a relationship with him, and I'm sure you guys do business together. But you know your shit. So many people seem to act like they know it, but they just don't know it. Can you talk about that? Because I think that's why people don't know who to join or who to believe. And there's so much with social media. There's so much bullshit out there anymore.
So much. I'm so glad you said it, because it makes great coaches in the industry. It makes our life a lot harder to be able to sell to people, to bring them in, to help them, because there's such a bad taste in people's mouths about the coaching industry, because most people that they're putting on a facade and they're not teaching, they're not embodied. So for me, before I even had this business, and when I had my son, I started to work in recruitment, and I worked my way up pretty quickly. And within kind of 18 months, I was made branch manager of an international recruitment agency, American actually, Drake International. And so that was a really great job, because that's where I learned to run business, to learn how to read a P&L, to learn how to manage people, to learn, who to become in order to have the nous to be able to run business and people and lead and be a leader. Because so many people go into business and they just see a dollar sign and they don't realize, number one, you're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. You've got way more responsibility, not just for yourself, but to the people that you're either employing or your clients.
Absolutely.
Right? It's all on you.
I mean, I love when I ask people why they go into business and they say, for more time.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, for more time? For more time? Listen, I've been in business for 20 years. I really say to people, I've been in business for about 8, where I took it serious.
Right.
Yes, I had a booming digital agency. Yes, I was making money, but where probably 8 years ago, I hit the switch and said, okay, whenever I married my wife, and then it just skyrocketed.
Right.
But then business became my sport. But I don't have time. Do you have time? How much free time do you have?
I live and breathe. 98% of my time is work. I exercise. I sleep. I spend time with my son in the 2% that I have left over, and that's it.
When you're coaching someone, they say, because I'm sure you asked the question, why are you in business? Because I don't know the coaching group, so I have no dog in the fight.
Yeah.
People ask me to have coaching groups all the time, but get into one, start one. Lance, you'd have one of the biggest with your brand. I'm like, I don't own one.
Yeah.
I just know the work you have to, because people don't understand, for you to have a coaching group, you really have to have that servant mentality of, I'm serving you, I'm taking care of you.
Yes.
It's almost like a concierge service. Like if you're a good coach, I believe that.
100%. You know how I said I didn't have 5 kids? Well, now I've got over 100 in this community, and I don't mean that they're children, but I mean that servant mentality of, I'm here to serve you. And at the same time, you still have to learn how to uphold standards, teach them how to hold standards, how to, I mean, this morning is a classic example. I've had to go in and speak to my community about, it just amazes me. Like, I've had to go in and speak to them basically about their word is their bond. If you sign a contract, you adhere to the contract. If you have an appointment with me, you turn up on time, otherwise we're not making another appointment, because if you can't respect my time, like I'm not sitting around twiddling my fingers. I've got other things to do if you don't want to participate. And people go into business to do the thing that they love, and this is where they mess it up. Because you actually have to love the game of business.
Correct.
And you have to love relationship building, and you have to love selling, because that is the foundation.
It's funny you say that, because how I met you through JT, and I try and listen, people have different views of JT. I tell people that, because I say I'm friends with them, and people are like, well, this. I'm like, guys, listen, no one's perfect, and he's only been good to me. So I'm good to him. And I like JT. I think he brings a lot of good stuff to the table. Like, I think but what's funny, how I met him was he asked me to be on his podcast. Then he called me up and said, I'm going to stop by. He was coming from, I think he might have been with you or someone over in England somewhere for a conference he was doing.
Right.
Comes to my house, goes to the Phillies game with me and my son. I think it was the Phillies game. Yeah, it was Phillies game. And then he asked me to speak at Mega Assess. And I was like, he's like, I'll pay you this, that. I was like, I don't want any money. I was like, I'll just come out there. This guy just flew from another country to my house to spend a day, but I'm not going to take money from him. But this time we're friends, I'm not. So I fly there, and the other guy canceled on him. And I was like, how do you tell someone that when they're putting on a big conference that you're going to go and you're going to speak? And that's why I give you so much credit, because we were supposed to have someone in here yesterday, correct? And I tell Kairos, what would you say I tell you? Probably 30% of people are going to cancel, yes or no? Because they aren't people that work, and they wonder why their life isn't what, and you flew 30 hours here. We offered to pay for your plane ticket. You said, no, I'll get my own.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you know someone's successful. You fly 30 hours. I'm going to do it. I don't need your money, Lance. And that's why I don't take people's money. Like, Roof Max asked me the keynote. They said, how much money do you want? I said, I don't want money. They said, no, we have this much allotted. I said, I don't want it. I said, I'll get through it with my guys. It's an honor to speak. I said, will you please donate it to,
right.
I have a donation. I ask for everyone always to Beat the Streets. It's just an organization. But the point being is, why is being a person of your word so important? Because, like, so many people just aren't.
Yeah. And it kind of weaves into the coaching thing, because like you said, you're not at all interested in having a coaching community, and
no.
I totally get it. But for me, coaching has changed my life. And so I'm so passionate about the impact that it can have and the industry at large, and I will fiercely protect it, because I am the woman and the business person that I am today because of my mentors, because I didn't learn the things that I needed to learn to become this human. I didn't learn them growing up. I didn't learn them at school. Have you ever used Pythagoras theorem? Like, what are we teaching at school? Like, it's totally irrelevant.
I love her. I love her. Listen, I think school's for fools, and I tell people that, and I don't mean it listen, my kids go to a prestigious school, and they know how I feel. Like I said, my son's not going to be valedictorian. And honestly, if you gave I just said, if you gave my son the microphone to be valedictorian, whatever comes out of his mouth is on you.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. If you give me a microphone, right?
Lance, I let my son leave school at 11 years old because he used to come home crying every day because it made him feel dumb, because he wasn't built that way. He wasn't built to sit in a classroom for 7.5 hours and listen to some dictator tell him a bunch of information that had no relevance. You know what? He has thrived. He's 18 in 2 months. He's been full-time employed since he was 12. He's a DJ on the side, so he's got his own business. He's also got a second business where he literally has designed this thing himself in our local suburb. Everybody gets him to walk their dogs. He goes and looks after the elderly. I mean, anyway, like
it's and this is where like my quandary is, right? For me with my sons, the social aspect for my sons love playing sports.
Right.
That I do believe they go, in my opinion, to one of the best schools in the state. Like, it's just, they worked with my sons for those reasons that you say, like how your school son didn't fit in. My oldest son struggles. Like, he struggles like just with just being a boy sitting in a room for 8 fucking hours, right?
Yeah.
But they go out of their way to accommodate, to make, so like for me, anyone where my son goes to school, they asked me how I feel. I said breakfast with the president. I said, I love the school. You changed my son's life, because his old school, there was no male teachers, not being a sexist here. They couldn't understand what he was going through.
Right.
And they were like, I'm like, is my son disrespectful? Like, no. But he doesn't like to sit in his chair all day.
That was the same for Oscar.
I'm like, look out that window. Like, there's
run.
There's no job like this in the world where you sit there all day. There's no job. There's no job
Yeah.
where you just sit there besides being a college professor or a teacher,
Right.
where you put 20 to 30 people in a room and you speak down to them all day.
Speak down.
And then say, come take a test the next day. Then you're changing the subject to shit. Like, no offense. Someone asked me, who was it? Paul fucking Revere. Someone asked me, who's Paul Revere? I'm like, who the fuck? How would I know who Paul Revere? They were like, well, he's the guy that ran through Boston like with the lamp or some shit. I'm like, and how does that affect me today?
Yeah.
But I can tell you what the net income is. I can tell you how you get to your EBITDA. I can tell you how you get to your gross profit without blinking. Things that are going to make me money. Unless I'm going to be on Jeopardy, Paul Revere does not matter to me.
Exactly.
But that's the shit they're teaching.
Exactly.
They're not teaching kids how to use ChatGPT. They're not using
and all they're testing is rote memory. Can you remember the crap that we told you yesterday? They're not teaching you how to solve problems.
There's no critical thinking, which is a problem. And the other thing too is they're asking you to remember things that you're not good. Now, do I believe? I tell my sons all the time: you come home and you have bad grades in these subjects: math, reading, English. Because my English is terrible, right? Math, reading, English. And I want you to be decent at science, just because I believe that's the one subject that really makes you critical think. Like you gotta try and figure. But like honestly, like music, I'm not being rude to you. You take that violin and shove it
where the sun don't shine.
Like that. I mean, like
yeah.
Like so, your son struggled. He's doing well. I'm assuming you don't have a college degree.
Well, I do now. So, basically.
Let me re-ask that question. Were you a millionaire before your college degree or after your college degree?
Well, after, but hear me out here, because I don't think that you need a college degree at all, right? At all. In 2011, so I had my son. I worked my way up in recruitment. When my son was 4, so in 2011, I'd gotten. We were still poor. Because remember, I hadn't learned money skills and I hadn't learned self-worth skills. So even though I was earning quite a good income in recruitment, it was slipping through my fingers. I didn't know what to do with money.
Yeah.
Right. So we were still poor is a mindset before it's a bank balance. And so we were still living poor. And then in 2011, I was held in a house for 2 days under duress and repeatedly sexually assaulted by a family member.
Damn, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
And that left me with PTSD so severe that afterwards, at one point, I wouldn't even leave the house for a long time. I was just too scared. And so I stopped working and I was on welfare, and now we were really poor. And it was about a couple of years after that of just, I mean, the PTSD was so dark, Lance. Like I didn't realize that I could get better. I thought that I was going to be in fear for the rest of my life. And I was just waiting until my son got older because I thought I would kill myself once he was old enough. I didn't want to leave him, but I didn't want to be alive. Like it was so dark.
Damn.
And a couple of years later, I got to a point where I was like, I can't live like this. I've got to rehabilitate. I knew that I couldn't go back into a corporate office environment. I was a changed person, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I decided to put myself through university, not once, but twice. So I went and did an undergrad degree at uni, graduated with honours, which was incredible to me because I was the dumb one at school.
It's amazing how that works out. It's amazing how that works out. You want to do something.
Because of graduating with honours, I then got a scholarship to do a Juris Doctor in law. So I didn't have to pay for my law degree. And it was about halfway through the law degree that I realised I didn't want to be a lawyer, because I'm not very good at following rules.
You're great at talking, though.
Well, I probably could have argued my way. But so then I was like, right, well, what do I want to do? So I just kept searching for answers while I was finishing my law degree. And then we land here. I start this business. I didn't start as a business coach because I didn't have any embodiment to be able to teach people to start and run their own business. The way I started was I used to create content for other businesses. It was,
Okay.
right? So that's where I started. And then it grew so quickly. And in that process, I was realizing that I was working out how to grow a business. And so then I shifted an offer and created an offer to teach people how to sell on social media and how to create content. And so then it started a coaching. And, you know, now because of what I've achieved and I understand the financials and the strategy and the people management and the leadership and all of the things that go into running a business, now I teach that. But that's because I've done that. And, you know, the crab in the bucket analogy?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Where all of the crabs try to pull the crab that's about to get out down.
We call it the crab pot theory.
Right.
Hmm?
And so
most people don't know that theory. Explain to people what the crab pot theory, how you pull someone back down as power to get out.
Yeah, okay. So literally actual living crabs, you put them all in a bucket. They're smart enough that they will stack on top of each other because they know that they can get out. So they climb up and stack on top of one another. As the one at the very top is about to put his little crab claw over the lip of the bucket to get out, the rest of them realize that if he gets out, they can't get out because of the distance. So they pull him back down. And this is the environment.
That's why you don't need a lid on when you're boiling crabs, people. No one understands that. That is why the crab pot theory came around.
Right. And so.
And the analogy relates to who? Your people around. Guys, you explain it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like you've got to have a look around you and ask yourself, are these people helping me and encouraging me to be better? In fact, I heard an incredible statement on a clip on Instagram this morning from the Prime Minister of Australia, and so people will have their own thoughts about that, but I don't care who it is. He was asked what his ethos was, and I loved this, Lance. He said, my ethos is nobody gets left behind, but nobody gets stopped from getting ahead either.
I like that.
Right?
Real simple.
Isn't and so this is the thing. So often our friends and our family, while they love us, they don't necessarily understand what we're trying to do. And sometimes they're the crab in the bucket.
Explain to people about your friends and family, because most of the bad things that happen to you are going to come from
the people that you know.
The people you know. And that's really the truth. Like the closest.
Statistically.
It's just think about your social environment. Like the guy that hooks up with your wife is probably going to be one of your friends.
Right.
The guy that hooks up with your husband's probably going to be one of your friends. Like that's just statistically, right? Like just someone. The person in business that screws you over is probably going to be your partner. The people that hurt you the most, the closest ones to you, the people when they see you getting ahead, they get jealous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, talk about that in your circle. And I think every entrepreneur talks about it, truly. Like, every entrepreneur goes through it where they lose family members.
Yeah.
Where if you're not picking up the bill, people don't want to come out. If you're not paying for trips, then all of a sudden you're the bad person. When you say no, it becomes a problem. And can you talk about why it's always the people closest to you?
Well, I mean, it's always the people that are closest to you because they have the most access. But I think the thing that I would love.
Damn shit! I never even thought about that. They always have the most access. I swear to God, I've always said that's the first time someone's ever explained it so easily. We've
got to normalize saying goodbye to people, especially the higher up you go in terms of your success. It's like I see so many people in my community, as an example, really stress out about the fact that they feel alone, or they worry about losing a friendship or even their partner. Now, look, marriage is on you. If you want to be married, that's up to you. I'm not telling people to go get a divorce here, but you've got to marry well. And when I say well, you've got to make sure that that person has the same mentality as you around growth.
Let's talk about that, because I believe this with all my heart. And I told my son LJ the other day, he's 11. I said, LJ, your biggest decision you're ever going to make in your life, the biggest, the most important decision you're ever going to make in your life is marrying your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Marrying your wife. I'm going to see if I got this text message. I sent it to my wife last night because my wife is like, just, whatever. So this right here. I'll play this clip for you real fast. You got a second?
Yeah.
Because we're just talking about this. It's the most important thing for what your success is. And I saw this, right? And
oh, yes. No, I've seen this.
You seen this?
Yeah.
Decision you're going to make in your life. What do you think it is? Who you marry? The spouse. The most important decision you make in your entire life is the spouse.
So last night, it's just funny we're talking about this. It's crazy. Last night, you see, at 12:09 last night, because I was going through business stuff, I just haven't seen it. I said, thank God for you every day. Because I do believe my wife changed me because she stuck through so much shit with me. It's amazing. But she changed me so much for the better. She saved my life in a lot of ways. But there's no way I'm doing all. You see the size of this operation. You see. And this ain't even, what's this, probably 20% of our operation, Jacob, around the country? It's probably only 20% of our operation. So just think how big the operation is around the country. But I told LJ, and that was a straight up conversation. Like, the woman you marry better be on your mission and vision with you, or you are fucked. Yeah. Can you talk about that? Because I know you're single, but you still, you see it every day when you're coaching these people.
Yeah. And in fact, what I see across the board as one of the most consistent and prominent problems that stops people that I work with from getting ahead is their relationship. And a lot of the time they don't even realize it and they don't want to deal with it because we get so attached to the comfort of the known that we don't want to deal with the truth of the situation. And, you know, part of the reason why I'm single is because I refuse to let anyone slow me down or take me backwards. And as soon as there are consistent signs of that person becoming a stress in my life, I cut them. Whether that's a boyfriend, a friend, a client, one of my keys to success is about reducing relational stress. So if you don't have a partner that's prepared to work with you, then in my book, they've got to go. Because why would you get to the end of your life and wish that you'd done more, but you sacrificed it for the comfort of getting into bed with the same person every night who's annoying you anyway?
Well, it's funny you say that because I always say to people, there's no co-author to my book. And I say that to my sons all the time. There's no co-author to your book. Write your own book. My wife's writing her own book.
Of course.
Like people would like say to me, what do you mean? I'm like my wife doesn't want to do what I do. My wife wants we don't even talk business. At all.
Right.
Because my wife wants nothing to do. And we have a saying, I won't break your spirit. You won't break my spirit.
Right.
So my wife knows I want to go do this. I don't have to do this anymore. I want to do this. And it's important. But I do believe, like you're saying, I see it so many times, and I actually told this guy he should get divorced. So he said to me, I want to be a millionaire. My wife wants me to stay working at this job. It has benefits. I said, get fucking divorced. And then he's like, what? I'm like, get divorced. He's like, I got 3 kids with her. And he's like, dude, I just can't go get divorced. I was like, yes, you can. Yeah. I'm like, you're never going to get your goal. If your wife's worried about how you pay fucking health benefits, like, no offense, I could go Uber at night and get my health benefits covered. Yeah. Like, the sacrifice for what your dream is for health benefits, I don't think so.
And it's ridiculous when you say it out loud, and yet people get so attached to this crap.
It's that poor mindset that you said. And that's why, like, talk about your network. Like if you are hanging out with like-minded people, if you're hanging out with people that cheat on their wife, I say this, if you're hanging out with people that cheat on their wife, you're going to cheat on your wife. Yeah. If you hang out with drunks, you're going to be a drunk.
Exactly.
Can you talk about if you hang out with winners and all of a sudden you start seeing anything from a different angle? Because you had to do that at some point in time because you were hanging out with losers. Yep. And now you only hang out with winners.
Yeah. And
can you talk about that?
Yeah, because it was, I mean, one of the hardest things about getting off drugs when you're an addict is the fact that the network that you've got are other alcoholics and addicts. And so Monday morning comes and you're like, I'm not going to do that ever again. And then Thursday afternoon rolls around and the network is on the phone saying, hey, it's time. And it's really hard to get out of that environment. Similarly, though, and I think some of the feedback that I get from my clients actually, so I know that this is a thing, right? I think one of the things that I've done really well is that I've been prepared to insert myself into places and spaces with people that I haven't necessarily belonged in, and also not do it from this place of admiration or like, you know, and I'm sure you get this as well, Lance, because people admire you, but then they start to kind of bow down to you. And, you know, it's like, how do I explain? It's like, I can have respect for people who are doing far bigger things than me without minimizing myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And show them respect, but also speak to them as an equal. And I think people with success appreciate that because all day long they're having to field off other people's BS.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say this. I judge the character of a man or woman by how they treat their family.
Yeah.
The business side, listen, business is easy. Like not only yours, it's easy. If you love what you're doing, your business is going to grow if you just follow the 9, 10 critical things in business that you have to do, right? And we're going to talk about that. But if you got a great business and you're treating your kids like shit and you're not showing up to their events and your wife and you, listen, I'm not saying me and my wife had the perfect marriage, but I can tell you this, I worship my wife.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd ever say something like that before when I was younger, right? I never worshiped any woman like I worship my wife. And I love being with my wife. We fight about our kids. Like, we're not fighting about finances. And she wants time with me, right? So I have to make time, which is hard for a guy like, for anyone to make time is very hard, right? So I don't think, I ever looked at someone and said, you got more money than me, you're better than me, because I really don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And this is my attitude about that, really, truthfully, is that's your money.
Yep.
I got my money. It's funny. I give my ex-partner, Sam, the utmost respect. And people say, why do you respect your partner, Sam, so much? You're not his partner anymore. Something had to go bad. I'm like, no, nothing went bad. There wasn't one bad thing. He was just a man of his. We had two different visions. But the one thing I learned from him is he never counted anyone else's money. Never. And maybe that's why I don't count anyone's money. I don't have that jealous bone because, someone has more money than you. Someone has more money than me. But are they happier than us? I don't know. Money don't make you happy.
No, it doesn't. And, success to me isn't about the money. It's about the impact that you're having. So like when I walked in here and I'm looking at your office and all of these stuff, I'm like, this is just incredible what you've been able to create. And what it does is it inspires me and helps me to have a bigger vision.
This is only 2 years old.
Yeah, right.
LB Capital only started, when did it start? 2 years ago. I mean, people are like, how the hell did you build this so fast? And I'm like, I learned my lessons from one SEO shot, but this is only 2 years old. Like, not even, correct? Not even.
And that's the other thing. Like you just said, I learned my lessons.
Yeah, a lot of lessons.
A lot of lessons. And most people make a mistake. And I don't even believe in that word, by the way, but they call it a failure. They make a mistake and then they freeze and they don't move again. And this is why my motto is anchor in action.
I love that.
Because clarity comes in the doing.
I'll give you one better than that.
Yeah.
I call it double L's. You lose and you learn.
Yeah.
And if you learn, you didn't lose because you don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
So like I tell it to my sons all the time, when you lose a match, you didn't lose if you learned from it.
Yeah.
You only lost if you repeat the same fucking mistakes.
Same thing in business. Don't even try again.
Well, quitting's not even an option. Like that's just, I don't ever understood that. Let's talk about your coaching clients. Okay. Because I want to get to that. I know you deal with home services and roofing clients all around the country, all around the world.
Yeah.
What is their biggest problems why they don't break through the ceiling and grow their companies and get what they want? Like if you just had to say, Lance, these are the top 3 things I see with the roofing companies. I guess we just go to home services in general, right, guys? We just home services in general, right? Because I know, what would they be? Because you coach hundreds of people, so
I'll tell you the one. There's one, and it's that I've got a saying, which is, good operators get tired, but great business people get rich.
Oh, shit, I like that. Good operators get tired, great business people get rich. I like that.
So people go into business because they love the thing that they do and they want to do more of it, but in less time.
That doesn't work.
Right. And then the reality of business sets in. And by the way, nobody's born good at business. Like you've had to learn how to be good at business. I've had to learn.
I probably lost, no exaggeration, if I had to put a number on it. And this is not exact. People are going to say there's no fucking way this is true. I probably made over $20 to $30 million in mistakes because I never paid for a coach.
Right.
People are like, well, you pay for Sean Michael Crane. Yeah, I pay for him. He's a mind coach for me just to keep me healthy. Like just as a, but he comes in, but like I've never had a business coach. Right. So I can never find someone that actually had a successful fucking business before.
Right.
I mean, like I saw a thing like someone said, "Oh man, someone paid Alex Ramirez paid Grant Cardone $150,000 for 6 hours of his time." I mean, I probably would have too back in the day, not now, but if I knew the value of time,
right,
and learning from the right people, not the wrong people.
Yeah.
At least Grant Cardone has been successful.
That's right.
At least JT Fox has been successful.
Yeah.
Talk about that part of it. Like these guys are wasting their time on the shit they shouldn't be wasting. Do you think the homeowner cares about what shingle they install? Can you talk about because I think this is where the disconnect is between I love what I do and I want to be a business person.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I just think no matter what business you're in, and definitely, roofing services comes into it. But that's the thing. So they're focusing on the minutiae and the details that they care about, the things that they get excited about, the trade, the service, right? The materials,
Yes.
all of those things.
I don't know any of them.
Right. And that's not ultimately, those things are important, but they're not going to grow and sustain a business. And so, one of the things that people really, it is a mindset shift before it's a strategy, though. This is the thing, Lance, because people go into business to do more of the thing that they love. They want less time, and then the reality hits. And, I think this is why so many, it's like 70% of businesses fail in the first 5 years.
Oh, without a doubt. Here's a question to you. Do you believe guys that are operators are good business people overall, or do you think it's their mindset of not willing to grow, punch through the ceiling, go lose their ego, go take shop tours, go get better, go to masterminds, go be around people that have done it? Do you believe that's an issue, or do you believe that's not the answer for them?
I think that anyone can learn to be great at business if they put themselves in the right environment. So guys that are operators and that, have done the trade absolutely can go and learn. And, so you just did your mastermind. That's a great place. Like, why you've got to go and put yourself, if you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know that you don't know it.
100%. Women are getting more and more into the trades. I don't want to make this about women because I think you look at my leadership team, I have tons of women. So I believe I actually think women are better leaders than men. I probably shouldn't even say that, but I just do. But that's a whole other conversation. I just do. That's my opinion. But so I surround myself with women. But I just think they're more highly intelligent. I think they're less emotional. I think they have less egos.
Right.
That's just what I find, right? I think they believe in the mission more and they stick to the mission.
And they're also very good at promoting. As in promoting the mission, promoting social cohesion within the organization, within the client, the client base.
Yeah, but women are getting more and more into the trades. Can you talk about that and why? And it's not where people want it yet, but it's definitely going there. I think you're going to see an influx of women getting into the trades all around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I shared, when I was 17, I was working at a gold mine in Australia, and I was one of the very few females driving the 777C dump trucks there.
Oh, without a doubt.
And even back then, 20 plus years ago, it was well known in the industry that they preferred female drivers because we took greater care. And I think, part of the reason that people want women in the trades is because they are taking greater care, whether it's with the actual delivery of the service. Now, I don't want to shit can men in any way.
No, listen, I got no problem. Like, I think there's a difference.
But also the customer service perspective as well. I think that women bring that customer service perspective just naturally because it's innate that you're a carer and a nurturer. So, I mean, I think that from a industry perspective, I think that the customer itself is appreciating the female.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the whole DII thing because I think common sense is you put the best person there, and it seems like women in all my organizations rise very quickly, and I don't know what it is. And I say to Jolene, who's my CFO, and she always tries to explain it to me. I'm like, I just see such a difference in the output and the loyalty and the willing to go through the tough times.
Yeah.
Because this shit is hard.
Yeah.
And I just see a big difference. What would you say to a young woman out there that's struggling right now in business, that's looking at you, sees all your success, and she doesn't believe she can be you? What would you say to her?
Yeah, I think it's really important that you get yourself around people that remind you of just how incredible you are, because you don't see it. And I think that doesn't matter how successful you are, I think you still don't fully understand how incredible you are.
One final question, because I know you got to go. What is next for you?
So I'm really committed to growing my community to 500 people. And we did financial modeling towards the end of last year to work out what that looks like and physically what that looks like. So all of this year, I'm in multiple countries delivering in-person events to go and find, the best of the best around the world and sell to them so that I can bring them into my community and serve them to become better at business and to create whatever their idea of freedom looks like.
How do people find you? Because I will tell you this, we've talked a lot. I know you know business. I know you know coaching. How do people get a hold of you to talk to you? And what does that process even look like? Because I'm curious myself. If you don't mind, educate me.
Yeah. So people can only come in via me meeting and vetting them first now. So
I like that.
Yeah, there was a time where people could sign up via a sales page, no more. So what that looks like is I host free events both online and in person every couple of weeks. People come to the event, they hear me speak, they hear what my process is. If there's a resonance, then they get an opportunity to meet with me afterwards. It's either online or at the event. And I want to have a one-on-one conversation with everybody. And then, if we both kind of deem that it's a good fit, and then they can come into the community. So the best place to go is to my website, register for an event. It's just
Put the website up here for her.
It's just my name, shanitaylor.com. And the very front page is the events page, so you can see what we've got coming up.
Listen, I appreciate you taking the 30-hour flight.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. When the invitation was there, how could I say no?
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Service Titan and Rilla, our technology of choice to helping us scale and grow our business and making sure all of our viewers have the technology to scale their business so when they want to sell it, they're able to.